Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 8-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. Excited to get into the breakdown, kicking the week off with a nice 8-game slate here tonight. Before we do, a quick reminder that if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you feel like I provide you with any valuable insight, good stuff to help you with building your lineups, which I'm going to, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. And I'll be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these NBA DFS slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players and help you guys win some money night in and night out. And if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, you can go ahead and check out my Patreon packages. Those are linked below in the description. You get access to all the same tools I use in building my own NBA DFS lineups. I offer KJK DFS NFL package as well, and a Discord package if you want to hop in the Discord and ask questions around with the other members. NBA, you get premium NBA projections, my NBA data sheet, key statistics as far as player stats, team stats, play context stats, my core plays, injury impacts, etc., and access to the Discord. You can also check out my all sports package. That'll give you access to both NFL and MLB. Check it out if interested. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking down the slate today. As always, don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my lock of the night as well. Last time, nailing it with Dennis Schroeder. And we're going to keep it going on that. So, first game on the slate. New York Knicks taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. This game right now comes in with a total of a 210 over-under with a 5-point spread in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers, so expected to be a pretty close game here. Not exactly the fastest-paced game with only a 210 over-under, but we do continue to be with some injuries on the Philadelphia side, including Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons, which of course is going to give a big bump up in use to many members of the Philadelphia 76ers cast, mainly Joel Embiid at 9-8 here. Finally having a big game last time out after what I was saying. It's just a matter of time before Embiid has a big game. With all the usage he's going to receive, with those two guys continuing to be out, he's going to continue to be the top dog, and I certainly like him tonight. Even took a price tag decrease down from 10.3 to 9.8 on DraftKings, so that never hurts our feelings. And then, of course, Tyrese Maxey, Seth Curry, Shake Milton, Furkan Korkmaz, and Georges Niang going to continue to see a bunch of minutes with Matisse Thybulle out as well on the COVID-19 list. The only thing that can impact that is if we do indeed see Danny Green return to the rotation. Keep an eye on the starting lineup. Keep an eye on who's expected to start for sure, because if he's in, that's going to cut back some minutes for some of these guys. A Furkan Korkmaz, a Shake Milton, etc. So, but definitely some usage to be opened up on the Philadelphia side. On the Knicks side, of course, Julius Randle is going to be the number one usage guy at 9.7. If you're paying up for someone on the Knicks side, it is going to be Julius Randle for sure. And he's certainly going to produce at a very high rate for you on the season so far. Looking at my sheet here, Julius Randle putting up 1.28 DK points per minute, so continuing to do pickup right where he did last year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that go up even more. So Julius Randle making a lot of sense. And the second guy in line seems to be RJ Barrett so far in the season. He's been having some big games pretty consistently up until last time out, where he only put up 9 DraftKings points and an absolute dud. But before that, he had 56, 37, 33, 33, consistent across the board. He is a little priced up a little bit more than these other guys, though, in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, who were priced in the mid to low 5K range, who could certainly get there pretty easily at their price tag. So those two guys specifically, I think, could definitely pay off for you in tournaments. Second game on the slate is Brooklyn taking on Chicago. This game right now comes in with a total of a 215 over-under, 1.5-point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. Once again, kind of a mediocre paced game, but it is expected to stay close. On the Chicago Bulls side of things, with them fully healthy, it's a little bit dispersed as far as the usage. You have Levine, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, all kind of digging into each other's usage a little bit. So my rule of thumb here would be, depending upon your roster construction, probably playing one of these guys, 8-6, 8-2, or only two of them, because it's going to have a real hard time, all three of them, getting there at their respective price tags with the way that their usage is shaking up on this team. So, but depending upon your build and who you like, probably only 1 to 2 of those guys, and then you could go down to Alonzo Ball at only 6'8" as well. He continues to be really cheap, just a matter of time before he has a big game. He's been somewhat limited, really just playing the assist role and the defense role on the Bulls so far, so it's a little bit scary. And then on the Brooklyn side, it's pretty clear-cut. It's James Harden, it's Kevin Durant at 10-1 and 9-9. The rest of their rotation is just really deep, and they're kind of mixing it around, so I don't really feel comfortable targeting too many other people from this team. Bruce Brown, you can make an argument for. Joe Harris, you can make an argument for. But other than that, you're seeing these minutes get dispersed pretty evenly, and they're pretty low. I mean, Blake Griffin at 4-3, for instance, is the quote-unquote starting center. If we go down to him, and we look at his minutes so far in the season, you can see he's playing right around like mid-20s minutes. So he's probably like your best candidate to be playing at only 4.3. I certainly wouldn't have an issue with playing him. But once you get down to the bench and everything, it's just like things are getting dispersed a little bit too much. Joe Harris at 4.2, like I said, also is a pretty interesting option for me. And I certainly would be willing to go to him. With his ability to shoot the 3-ball on DraftKings specifically, you get that bonus. He's been playing right around mid-30s minutes a game, so he could certainly get there. And then Bruce Brown at 4.4, same thing for him if he can play mid-30s. But you see, even they're playing mid-30s, they're barely producing 20 DraftKings points because there's so much usage going through the hands of James Harden and Kevin Durant. So they're really my two options. I'm going to continue to lean Kevin Durant between the two. I think that James Harden's going to have a little bit of an adjustment period here with this new NBA calls. He's not getting those calls that he was getting before. He's not getting to the free throw line nearly as much. I'd much rather go with a taller, kind of more fit for that type of style play as a Kevin Durant in this one. And then on the Bulls side, like I said, play one or two of those guys, but don't get too crazy. Minnesota taking on Memphis. This game right now comes in with a total of a 218.5 over-under with a 6-point spread in favor of the Memphis Grizzlies. This should be a game that doesn't feature too much defense. Memphis' defense has been absolutely terrible to start the season. On my premium package over here on Patreon, I'm looking at my defensive transition and defensive half-court putbacks tool. The Memphis Grizzlies currently rank dead last in the league, 30th in points per possession rank, 29th in half-court points per play rank. So, I mean, they're just allowing a bunch. And then when you look at their transition, they're 19th in points per play on the transition as well. So, they're just not really getting the job done. So, I think these Memphis guys are going to be, these Minnesota guys are going to be in a tremendous spot. And I'm not too scared about the Minnesota defense either because it's not as if they have the most dominating defense in the league. D'Angelo Russell listed as questionable in this one, so that's certainly big news. If he continues to be out, Patrick Beverley is going to continue to get the starting role and be a valuable play. And Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns are going to continue to see a bump in their usage as well, so they should be able to get plenty of usage and upside out of them because they're going to be relying on that heavily. So I certainly have interest in them. And on the Memphis side, Dylan Brooks continues to be out, which is certainly a big piece of news when we're factoring in playing some of these guys, because Anthony Melton and Desmond Bane are going to be much more viable plays at their respective price tags at only 5.1 and 4.7. They're going to continue to fill in big minutes. And lastly, Malik Beasley, also going to be a valuable play, much more viable if there is no D'Angelo Russell in this one. So Malik Beasley certainly going to have interest in him as well tonight. The New Orleans Pelicans taking on the Dallas Mavericks. This game right now comes in with a total of a 211 over-under, 9.5-point spread in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. So a little bit of an ugly spot here. Expected to be a very low-scoring game, and Dallas expected to win it fairly easily. So that can, of course, lead to multiple things that could impact your lineup, such as 1, points just not being scored, and 2, the blowout. So Brandon Ingram news is certainly going to be big. That's going to impact the New Orleans Pelicans rotation a big amount. So certainly keep an eye on that one if he continues to be out. Big bump up to Devontae Graham, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Josh Hart, and Jonas Valanciunas. All 4 of those guys are really going to be locked into the minutes and the usage to fill in for Brandon Ingram. If Brandon Ingram is back, of course, they're going to take a big usage usage hit, because Brandon Ingram's going to soak up a lot of that usage. So that's certainly big news. And then on the Dallas side, Kristaps Porzingis is now back. So speaking of guys that are going to take a hit in their usage, everyone on the Dallas side that was seeing a bump up with no Kristaps will now kind of see that not being the case anymore. He was limited to under 30 minutes the first time out, so we'll be seeing if that minutes restriction is lifted. That's certainly going to make us like him even more. But at his price tag right now, he's only 6'7". I still like him, especially if you get news that he's not going to be limited in his minutes. So I certainly like Kristaps Porzingis in this one. Luka Doncic's going to be priced up a little bit too much for my liking now with Kristaps Porzingis back. I think I'd rather just look other places on this slate today, so I'm not getting too excited to be playing Luka Doncic, to be honest. I'd much rather play Kristaps Porzingis. And like I said, the New Orleans Pelicans side is really going to rely on that Brandon Ingram news. Miami taking on Denver. This game right now comes in with a 205.5 over-under, a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Miami Heat. This is by far the lowest pace game on the slate. This is by far the least interested game I'm going to have interest. I just don't want to go here. Both teams are pretty healthy, except for Michael Porter Jr. being out, actually. That's some pretty big news. That's going to certainly give up some more usage on the Denver side of things. The problem is the Miami side is just really good defensively, so it's a little bit scary. But on the Denver side of things, Nikola Jokic Will Barton and Aaron Gordon specifically should get big bumps here, and they are pretty underpriced. So even though this is a pretty less than ideal matchup, both these guys very cheap. There's no more Michael Porter Jr. I think I have to have interest in them at these respective price tags. It's kind of difficult not to. So, ideally I would say we don't have any interest, but with this injury news, we kind of have to. And then you could certainly be looking to maybe a Jeff Green as well at 3.7 over here on DraftKings. He's going to probably free up some more minutes for himself. He's only 3K. He played 20 minutes last time out, put up 15 DraftKings points. And yeah, the Denver side becomes a lot more interesting with there being no Michael Porter Jr. in there. So that's certainly something to take note of. PJ Dozier at 3.3 off the bench. Campazzo off the bench could be interesting options. PJ Dozier should step into a bigger role, 23 minutes. He's a great fantasy point producer, so certainly some interesting guys on Denver with the injury news. And then on Miami, it's really going to be always the same thing as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, my main candidates. But with Kyle Lowry healthy, it becomes a lot more difficult to determine who's going to have the big game. He finally had his biggest game last time out, and that obviously completely impacted how good Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler did in their games. So, yeah. The Miami side I'm a little less interested in because they don't really have any injuries right now. That could free up some more minutes. And then we're also waiting on some Monte Morris news, but it does look like he is more so probable, so expect him to get a bit of a bump up in usage as well, with there being no Michael Porter Jr. Atlanta taking on the Golden State Warriors. This game right now comes in with a 221.5 over-under with a 3.5 point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. So this game is expected to stay close. It's a pretty decent paced game. And we could certainly have interest in the two most on-ball heavy usage guys in these offenses, Stephen Curry and Trae Young. Both very similar games. I have a feeling when they play each other, there's a bit of pride to be had because they're both sharp shooters. Both really want to show that they're belong in the league and kind of their identity, I guess you could say, as far as players. And I think that for that reason, this could be a great one between these two guys. They could both really have big games. Both not really the great defensively either. So, of course, that's going to lead to more ability for a back-and-forth battle between them. And then John Collins listed as questionable in this one. We certainly have to keep an eye on that one, but he is listed as more so probable, so I'd expect him to be able to go in this one. And you could certainly be looking to a Clint Capella, a John Collins. What I continue to say is I wouldn't play both of my lineups. They're going to limit each other's upside on the glass, rebounds. When one person's getting a rebound, obviously the other person isn't. So they're going to limit each other's upside. I'm not going to have as much interest in playing both of them in the same lineup. Then you have Draymond Green as well and Andrew Wiggins on the Golden State Warriors side. That's a little priced cheaper, as well as Jordan Poole. That could certainly have big upside games. They just continue to be somewhat mediocre. Jordan Poole would be my favorite option out of this bunch. He's put up 47, 30, and 39 DraftKings points the last 3 times out. Continues to see his usage climb quite a bit, and I certainly have interest in him. And then Otto Porter Jr. at 3.9. If we continue to see his minutes go up, I'd have more interest. He had a big game last time out, but he only played 18 minutes, so that's kind of going to be few and far in between. He's able to produce at that rate. And DeAndre Hunter, at only 4K on the Atlanta side, continues to play around 30 minutes a game, and you could certainly have interest in him. All right, Phoenix taking on Sacramento. Next game on the slate. This game right now comes in with a total of 223 with a 3-point spread in favor of the Phoenix Suns. So expected to be a pretty fast-paced game here. Certainly could have interest in some of the high-usage guys on the Phoenix side in Devin Booker and Chris Paul at 9.2 and 8.7 respectively. Both going to continue to really put up points here. Devin Booker has put up 50 and 58 DraftKings points the last 2 times out. As far as Chris Paul is concerned, he's put up 48 and 48. So this is a scenario where I do think you can play both of these guys. They both kind of feed off each other, and they're both a very clear number 1 and number 2 options in their offense. And I'm not too scared about the Sacramento defense either, so that should help our case as far as having interest in them. And then on the Sacramento side, you're looking to De'Aaron Fox being the number 1 candidate at the point guard position with all of his usage. He hasn't had really the biggest game yet so far, but I'm waiting on him to explode. This could certainly be the game when they need his services, and he has a big game. And then you have Rashawn Holmes and Harrison Barnes getting a bunch of minutes as well, respectively, at their price tags, as well as going down to Halliburton and Buddy Hield. But once again, this is a scenario where this team's fully healthy. The usage is going to be somewhat spread even. So you're going to want to limit your exposure and hopefully nail the guys that have the biggest games in your lineups build, your particular lineup build, and the position eligibility that you have left, because it's very unlikely they all get there. And then DeAndre Ayton is listed as out in this game, which is going to open up more usage for JaVale McGee and Frank Kaminsky. Last couple times out, we've really seen Frank Kaminsky take a big step forward. He put up 32 DraftKings points last time out, 35 the time before where there was no Ayton. JaVale McGee's been kind of more of just a occasional filler, not playing nearly as much minutes. So I would lean Frank Kaminsky there when building my lineups. And I also do think that Jay Crowder is going to get a big bump up in his usage with there being no DeAndre Ayton. The last 2 times with there being no DeAndre Ayton, he's put up 33 and 30 DraftKings points. So I certainly have interest in Jay Crowder. And the last game on the slate is going to be Charlotte taking on the LA Lakers. LeBron James already listed as out. PJ Washington listed as out. Anthony Davis listed as questionable. He was questionable last game, ended up playing, had to leave early due to stomach illness, so certainly keep an eye on that. That's going to open up more minutes for DeAndre Jordan, Dwight Howard, and Carmelo Anthony if he is indeed out. And those guys would all become great plays at the respective price tags that you could certainly be taking a look to in your lineups. But most importantly, it's really going to open up a lot of usage for Russell Westbrook, who has been absolutely terrible to start the season. And for that reason, we might be able to get him at very low ownership. Charlotte's defense has been very bad on the season so far, so this would be the matchup that if any he could get it going, this would be it. Charlotte ranks on my defensive half-court and putback tool here 26th in the league as far as points per possession rank, 25th in the half-court points per play rank, and they're also giving up quite a bit of offensive rebounds. They're giving up quite a bit of putbacks, all of which, I mean, a high-active, high-energy guy like a Russell Westbrook could certainly take advantage of. And then in transition, so once again, they're still ranking 26 points per possession. Not quite as bad in transition so far in the season, but Russell Westbrook should be able to have his way with his team, especially if there's no Anthony Davis. I'd be all in on him. And then on the Charlotte side of things, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges continue to be the top two usage guys on the team, but they are priced accordingly. Whereas we can get a little bit of a discount if we go down to a guy like a Gordon Hayward or a Terry Rozier, both of which are still playing heavy minutes. They haven't had the biggest games in the world, but it's just a matter of time before they do, in my opinion, and they continue to be underpriced. Terry Rozier finally having a bigger game last time out, putting up 34 DraftKings points after kind of torturing us for quite some time and not really doing much after being underpriced. So, that's my overall breakdown. Taking a quick look over at FanDuel, as always, making sure that there's going to be a lot of the same things, but there always is a price discrepancy, so I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing some guys over here on FanDuel. Terry Rozier, I just spoke about him, but he continues to be underpriced over here on FanDuel. He's only 5'3", so I certainly have interest in Terry Rozier. Another guy that we could be looking to over here on FanDuel that I think is underpriced is De'Aaron Fox in that Sacramento Phoenix game. He's only 7'4" still. Russell Westbrook at 9'4" I think is underpriced over here. I think Gordon Hayward at 6'1" is underpriced on FanDuel from a first look aspect. And I certainly have a lot of interest in Mr. Joel Embiid over here on FanDuel, where you get the 3 points for every block at 9'3". You only get one center position. He's going to have a bunch of usage, like I said. After last time finally having that big game, putting up 52 FanDuel points, I think he continued to do so tonight, so I certainly have interest in him on FanDuel. And that's my overall breakdown, guys. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my lock of the night. Let's get into it. And my lock of the night tonight is going to be Joel Embiid. Taking on this New York Knicks team, looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tool, this should be a great spot for Mr. Embiid. They're ranking 22nd overall on putbacks, allowing a bunch of putbacks to opposing centers. 23rd in the league in points per possession rank in the half-court, where Joel Embiid does most of his usage. And lastly, there continues to be no Ben Simmons. There continues to be no Tobias Harris in this rotation. That's going to be a massive bump up to Joel Embiid in his usage, and I think he continues to be underpriced on both sites. Only 9.3 on FanDuel, only 9.8 on DraftKings, putting up 1.37 DK points per minute on the season. As far as FanDuel, 1.37 FanDuel points as well. Think he's underpriced. Think this is a great spot for him. It's a 5-point spread. They're going to need his services to stay ahead in this game, and I think he continues to put up big numbers. Some people may be afraid to go back to him. Love Joel Embiid in this spot. Get him in your lineups because he is my lock of the night. So there you have it, guys. Joel Embiid, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. You can go ahead and join in for the live stream later on tonight. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.